Hey there, hi there, ho there, everybody. Welcome to another brand new installment of Ask the Dads, both here on the Casa D18 Studios channel and over on the mothership, the Jeff Meacham Network.
Yes, baby. The mothership is live in public, if you will. Although we're not in public today, we in separate houses, unlike the weekend.
Yes.
We got the Papa Toppin today. Uncle Jay is getting his private stash over there, if you will, of the Dr. Pepper, but it's not really Dr. Pepper. You just think it is because it tastes like the same.
Here we go. Apparently, we are live on
6 TVs.
TVs on Bourbon Street
I
again.
dig it.
Zach, what is up, man?
Man, between Flair and Kid Rock Party in Nashville and Zach broadcasting us in New Orleans, we having a grand old time this week.
You know, this Michael Gonzalez says the best, man. This was a great weekend in wrestling.
It was.
Big G, how's it going? Thank you for dropping in. It was cool having you on for a little bit yesterday.
Twas a good weekend. It was an exhausting weekend, as you pointed out to me in a private discussion. We were on the air for a grand total of about 13 hours this weekend over the course of only 2 days. So, as much as I'm lamenting not no live watch-alongs this month, kind of glad. I'm not gonna lie. I am poop it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long, but like I said to Teresa when I got here, because she asked me how last night when I said it was one of those, I think it was everything that Rick needed, and every piece of bitterness I had about it not being his last match, the one that Dad and I attended, is that moment has passed. So I'm okay with it. I did get a little stack this morning on Twitter because I was accused of criticizing the spot with the tractor in the ring on Saturday, and I pointed out to the offending commenter, or basically they quote tweeted Virtue's commendation of the spot by calling me critiquing it. It's like, no, I was concerned for the well-being of everybody involved.
Yes.
It was an amazing spot, and it was, as Virtue said, a great sell by the champion. It was 100%. Just concerning, without question. It was just concerning as a person who has, dealt with that kind of injury, and then the aftermath of the ring being completely upturned, of all the blunt shots to the head with a chair or a title belt. That was what was concerning for me. So, as I said,
I totally get that.
Yeah, as I said in that tweet, and as I'm saying to everybody now, y'all don't put words in my mouth, especially on that toxic platform. You guys hear what I say, you know what I said. So,
yeah, I totally get that. This morning, my girlfriend watched it back with me, and she was kind of a little like, I have a better stomach than some people do when it comes to stuff like this. And I had to remind her, it's like, it doesn't have anything to do with the stomach. It's the fact that you have had head trauma in your life.
Right.
And watching somebody go through that, even somebody like Brock, who you're not a huge fan of.
Right. It was
it's kind of a little cringeworthy. And she was like, she compared it to PTSD. I was like, exactly.
Yeah, it's very much so.
That's the way you've got to look at it.
Yeah, it's very much similar, and it's taken me a long time to realize. Okay, damn USB thing always holds true. Not once, not twice, third time. It's taken me a long time to realize that part of my recovery is realizing that it is PTSD. It's very much trauma, and it's very much the stress of dealing with the aftermath of it. And seeing people that maybe I don't necessarily know in the case of Brock Lesnar, but in the case of John Cena, it was more difficult, obviously, that many times on somebody's head, it's very disconcerting, and I don't do well with it. People were saying, how could you not react to what happened to Nate? It's like, Nate just cut himself open with a blazer blade so many times in the last 50 years. That doesn't even faze me no more. The sight of blood.
Seriously, like, prior to his match, we were joking about what's the over-under for how long it's going to take him to bleed. And Jeff's like, he's going to come out to the ring just talking about cutting himself up. Sandman style. By the time he gets in the ring, he's already going to be gushing.
Yeah, right.
Because that's
Nate. I made a ha-ha out of it.
Yeah, but that's Nate, Yeah, I'll admit it took longer for him to get busted open than I expected, but he still got color. We knew he was going to get color. Yes. We knew that blonde hair was going to turn red for a night. He was going to become a soulless ginger for a night.
Yes, exactly. And it's unfortunate that, Big G's wife was legitimately concerned he was a guy that I didn't. Okay, we all made ha-ha for a month that he was going to die in the ring because that's what he wanted to do, right? But it's just one of those deals where I didn't think it was going to happen, but the fact that some fans actually believe that was going to be a thing, that's worrisome for me as a fan and as a podcaster and as somebody that does promote my love of this stuff, and the fact that I tend to gloss over a lot of things, right?
Well, you take a look at things like Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler, and
right,
granted,
exactly.
it's Hollywood, it's a movie, it's pretend, it's fake,
right,
but wrestling is pretend. Wrestling is the F word too.
right.
And the whole climax, the end of that movie, is Randy the Ram dying in the ring.
Yeah,
supposedly. It
right.
goes to black after he hits the Ram Jam,
right,
and goes straight to credits. We're left to draw our own conclusions, but even Aronofsky in interviews has said that in his mind, the way he designed the story, Randy perished after that spot. And Randy was one of those guys. He just couldn't get by with a 9 to 5. He couldn't hang up those boots. He couldn't give that life up. That was all he knew. Very familiar to Rick. That was his life. That's what he's known since he was a kid. You figure all the runs he had, and you figure his first run was pre-plane crash, second run post-plane crash, third run his first WWF run, then back to WCW, then back to WWE in 2002, then to Impact, and then back to WWE, and then this match. When does the end finally come? At some point, you hit that brick wall, and that's all she wrote. And we don't want it to be a tragic situation a la Randy the Ram, a la Owen Hart. But when you get to be Flair's age, it's very much a possibility.
Yeah, when that is all and you've not allowed yourself the opportunity or allowed yourself the headspace to entertain option B, option C, whatever the case may be, it's just kind of one of those deals where when you have to go out, and again, Michael makes a great point. Even though Austin had to retire in 2003, he got the thing with Owens at WrestleMania, which none of us in that room were expecting. And we all popped like a motherfucker over it. It was wonderful.
And that's exactly what I compared Flair's match to when it was first announced.
Right.
Austin had to go out against his own terms.
Yep.
And he came back when he was healthy enough for one more match in his home state where it all started for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Ric Flair was forced to retire by Vince back in 2008.
Yep. Exactly.
TNA run is like Bruno around here. We don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But he wanted to go out on his own terms. So he had one more match in Jim Crockett Promotions, no less, where it all started for him.
Yeah, and in Nashville, the site of what many people believe is his greatest world championship match against his greatest opponent.
Yeah.
I mean, I have yet to see, and sorry to the Omega Okada folks, I'll even apologize to Dave Meltzer, because usually I generally just blanket crud over him.
We know.
And I know he's watched both series ad nauseum. So I don't understand his skew judgment, but I also know that a match that nobody saw on television between Flair and Steamboat got the first ever 6-star. So there is that.
There you go.
But even Meltzer can't ignore that series was the best trilogy. And I say that because Okada and Omega did it for the reason of Dave Meltzer giving them the stars. They kept on going to see if they could up the ante. Flair and Steamboat up the ante in the sense of, let's see how much better we can make this championship match and get these people drawn in. They went into Chicago. Granted, it's at the UIC. It's at the Rosemont. It's not exactly, the big house, right? I'm sorry. It wasn't the Rosemont. It was the UIC. So it wasn't the Rosemont Horizon. It wasn't the main arena in Chicago for wrestling, but they
Right.
still had a hell of a match and they still had a hell of a reaction. When, pardon
Yeah.
my French or lack of French, but close enough with a 4-year-old in the room. No, 5-year-old. But it's one of those. It was a great reaction, and people were convinced it was a dusty finish because of Tommy Young going down. He still pulled it off. They go into New Orleans. Did they sell out the Superdome? No, of course they don't. But they still run against WrestleMania, and they have a great 2 out of 3 falls match. And then they go into Nashville and have one of the greatest things I've ever seen to this day in my 30. At that point, I wasn't even a fan yet, but in my 32 years of fandom, that's one of the greatest things I've ever watched back. Him being able to go into that building last night, the building where he faced Steamboat, the building where the Pillman era Horsemen helped him regain the world championship against the Macho Man after having a triangle match with Sting and Lex earlier, like right before. So Nashville's been very good to Rick, and Nashville was very great to Rick last night. They gave him all the love he needed. That entrance was what it was. The original Big Gold was back in play for one night only. And you know me and my belt Marxism, I was thank you. I still can't wait to go to Starcast and just for a second. Right?
Yeah.
And I thought the whole card, I'll be honest with you. And I didn't really get to say this much last night because there was so much going on last night. Aaron popped in and kind of
obviously.
No blame placed. It was just chaotic, right? I thought the card kind of under-delivered overall, right?
I could see that. I definitely feel like a lot of the matches were rushed,
right,
in order to try to get 11, 12 matches, whatever it was,
right,
into a 3-hour pay-per-view.
Right.
We didn't even think there was going to be anything on the pre-show, and then we got 2 of the matches on the pre-show.
Yeah.
But even still, you figure then you're at 9, 10 matches in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And that's an average of 15 minutes a match.
And I don't think anything went 15.
20 minutes a match. And it's like, nah, that you can't. It did feel rushed, and there was definitely room for improvement on the card. But I think that the overall story arc, if you can say that, considering most of the matches last night had no story to them.
Right.
But the overall story arc of the pay-per-view, I think, went really well. It's interesting that you bring up the trilogy of Steamboat and Flair and how they weren't out to do it for stars like Omega and Okada were. The only other trilogy I can think of for my money that would compare to that Flair Steamboat trilogy was the mid-2000s trilogy of Punk and Joe.
Yes. That they were each the defining, oh my God, what a match trilogy of their decade, their generation, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
They really were. And again, I'm not discounting the awesomeness of Okada Omega because it's not their fault that Dave needs a talent of cigarette every time you watch them. That's not their bad, right? That's just Daveisms. But those matches
it's his
were great.
Subjectivity.
Exactly.
It's what he likes.
Exactly. And again, I don't, and again, this can probably get me either heat or, a parade for me, one or the other. I don't hate on Dave for his choice of quality matches.
Right.
I hate on people taking his word as a journalist as gospel.
Yes.
Like the report today.
I co-sign with you on that.
The report today about Sasha and Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
Both him and Alvarez, I don't think, used one definitive finite yes or no in that entire thing they said today on that damn show of theirs. Well, I heard this. It's possible. It's like, are they there or not? You don't know, you buffoons. So shush. But
at the end of the day, they want to get clicks on their site. They want to get listeners on their podcast. So they're going to tease something newsworthy like that, especially after the returns of Io Shirai, Io Sky, Dakota Kai, all the stuff that happened at SummerSlam.
Okay.
They're going to tease something like that because, okay, now it's night 2 of the Triple H regime.
Right.
who's coming back tonight.
Yes. And again, I
So
don't
I get it, but at the same time, it's like you've got to be responsible about it because, and that doesn't just go for Meltzer and all them, but
know
to even the boss
everybody.
man himself, Rift.
Yeah.
You got to be careful about that stuff because people take and put so much stock into that
Yeah.
that
And
then you end up losing your credibility if you do it too much and you get burned.
yeah. I will say for Aaron and the other posts, that, and this is going to be not throwing him under the bus. This is going to make sure I pick up the bus and throw it at him here. Aaron, at least when he copies, pastes, whatever you want to call it, he makes it clear. Dave Meltzer said, Brian Alvarez said, Sean Ross Sapp said. This isn't Aaron pretending he's sitting in the locker room in his little hidden cubby that he dug a whole, trench into.
Right.
If Aaron's there, we know it.
Yeah.
If I'm there, you know it because my dumb ass is like, hey, look at me. Oh, I gotta run. And I got caught. Because I'm that stupid.
Yeah.
But it's not them necessarily in and of themselves. It's the people that follow the Pied Piper down the primrose path.
Exactly.
Or the other side of the spectrum, the people that just blanket just, and it's like, again, is it who's the bigger fool? The fool or the fool that follows him?
Mm-hmm.
We discussed last night. So, I have
Jacob Fatu impressed me also.
Yeah, he did.
I'm just sitting here. I'm sitting here staring at that in the comment section, and I'm like, yeah.
I did throw it up. We were just talking. I didn't want to interrupt the conversation. But yeah, Jake, I didn't want to say this last night because I was actually involved in trying to be professional. I'd never seen Jacob Fatu match last night as far as all the way through.
Same.
So, but
I had heard so much good about him.
Oh yeah.
But I had never seen him. And he impressed the hell out of me too.
He is definitely on that bloodline. He's definitely got them genes, brother. And he moves like Rikishi, despite not being, he moves like the Usos, despite being Rikishi's size. Like that's wow. Like I miss
Head Shrinker Fatu, not Rikishi Fatu.
Yes. No. That's the same guy, actually.
I know it is, but I feel like when he was Rikishi Fatu, he was a lot bigger than when he was Head Shrinker Fatu.
Right. But even as Head Shrinker, he was still moving like Head Shrinker Fatu.
Right.
Jacob's got the size. Yeah. Jacob's got the size where he's starting to maybe look bigger than Rikishi, even though he's well under 100 pounds lighter. So you would think he would move somewhere between Rikishi Fatu and Yokozuna. The dude moves like the Usos.
Yeah.
It's like, geez, how has WWE not signed him? Oh, wait, they wanted to, and he said no.
Yeah.
That I admire. Because if he does go at this point, he's just part of the pack now. Yeah. They'll lump him in somewhere. Whereas, much like the third Uso, he's carving out his own little niche there in NXT. They're mentioning who he's connected to, but they're not elevating him and making him go out there and do this and rule the territory. Which again, long-term storytelling. I think that's going to be your thing more than subjective or shenanigans ever was, because it applies so much. And when it works, long-term storytelling is the best thing in the business. It really is.
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit last night, going into the Flair thing. Like this, beside the whole Arn and Flair dumping all over Double J over the years about was he not a horseman.
Right.
If you really want to get technical, the ball started rolling for this match on that early episode of My World where they talked about Jarrett and the Horseman.
Yep.
And Conrad got Flair on the phone and buried him on the air.
Without
and again, it just goes back to what I was saying all along about how they made Jarrett and Lethal look like the sympathetic heels.
Yep.
And they made Flair, who is supposed to be the face, look even more heelish than the heels.
Yeah.
So it goes back there as far as this particular storytelling match.
Yep.
Because seeds are being planted. You figure Connie bought the Crockett name for the night. Connie booked the show. Jarrett's got a podcast. Flair's got a podcast. You get a podcast. You get a podcast. You get a podcast.
Right.
And all that came to a head last night at Starcast, which is his baby.
Yep. And I wonder. I'm curious to see this week's or hear this week's My World.
Yeah.
I really am. I haven't checked my Patreon yet today because I've been trying to get over here and unpack, which is always an adventure, as you know. So, but the fact that we saw Jay Lethal at the top of the ramp last night, and then they cut to credits in a hurry. I'm wondering if what we were talking about is true, and the one last ride, the one night stand, is gonna be more than.
Maybe.
I say that because, you know, hang on, I was irritated they didn't. Okay, we'll get there, G. Trust me.
Yeah, we will definitely get to that. And I know you saw, but I messaged Jeff a question
Already got it. Yep.
that had been sent to us on Twitter a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
When the next episode was going to be a top 10 list, and we told him that we'd get to it on our next live one. So
we promise.
We'll definitely address that, G, and then we'll get to that topic here shortly.
Yeah. I think the difference if they do relaunch Crockett as a full-time brand presentation is you won't have somebody that doesn't understand the nature of the brand like ECW. And I say that because Vince was coerced has a bad connotation to it, but very much coerced by Rob and then by Tommy and then by everybody else to bring it back, bring back ECW. Vince's problem, at least from what we've been told, I've been told firsthand by Rob, which is why I can say from what we've been told and not, have people question my, Meltzer, who's Meltzer talking to? The freaking janitor that let him in the door? I talked to the guy that pitched the idea to bring the damn brand back on the air in front of y'all more than once. Okay. Vince's problem was he didn't let the people that knew what the spirit was redirect it.
Yeah.
You know why they love ECW, Rob? Because I made them like it. It's like, dude, I want to live on your planet. That seems like a very spacey place.
Yeah.
Full of rainbows and what the fucks. Like, dude. WCW, I don't see relaunching.
No.
Because people were left with such a giant taste of turd in their mouth by March of 2001. But Crockett, the only thing that was really wrong with Crockett is they ran out of money because they stretched themselves too thin. And in this era, in this day and age, you don't have to stretch yourself any further than a building big enough to build the studio space, fit a ring, and fit that podium that we used last night for our background and that Tony and David used. That's what you need. And granted, I do concede to James's, defense of then it looks like NBA Power. And he's right. But you don't have to call it the NWA. As I said, as has been documented in an interview with Jim Crockett, an interview in books over the years by Flair and the Big Gold Belt book, Jim Crockett was already looking beyond the NWA's existence because even he saw the territory system dwindling away. Because by that point of the Big Gold Belt's design, it was he and Vince, winner take all. It really was.
Pretty much.
And, Vince only didn't winner take all in 88 because Ted Turner stepped in. So I think that if Crockett were to relaunch and Conrad, as much people got up his ass yesterday about, he'll never promote it, he did it anyway. I think Conrad's smart enough businessman to know that he's licensed what he's licensed. He's got what he's got. He owns what he owns. Stay in your lane, brother. Don't run your shows on, a night of the week that you're going to get buried. Hell, run your shows at 6:05 Eastern on a Saturday, as long as there's not a WWE review to compete. And if there is, run on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's not difficult to book wrestling, just to finance it. Well, if there's one thing Conrad Thompson has difficulty with, it's financing.
Yeah.
How much money he has and he's a mortgage broker. I think he knows how to balance checkbooks and actually knew how to make money work for him.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. The fact that, his entire office space on the podcast is filled with belts that, we couldn't afford if we sold our friends' children into slavery at this point.
Right.
So he knows what he's doing. Did he get a little out of his lane last night? Maybe in the eyes of some. I thought it was freaking pretty cool that he threw the brass knucks to Andrade and Andrade passed him to Nate, and that was how it ended. I was okay with Megan getting involved only because I really think they wanted to involve Ashley because she was there, but they didn't want to poke the McMahon Helmsley bear too much yesterday.
Yeah.
Again, knowing to stay in your lane. So
Sure.
I think Crockett can come back. It's just a matter of don't do more than quarterly pay-per-views, and don't try to compete. Don't be the same as, but be different enough or be retro enough for us old fogies to love it. And to make the point before we move on to the question that Jeet threw in there, I did not dislike SummerSlam at all like I thought I would. I feel SummerSlam, for as poopy a build as it got, that was a darn good show.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you say that. And I know we had Noah and James both say it too. I felt like going into Saturday night, I was on an island unto myself.
Yeah, you were.
That I really was the only one kind of looking forward to this.
Yep.
Maybe the build wasn't as good as it could have been. But then again, you're coming off a pay-per-view PLE that you had just done 3 weeks prior.
Yeah, that's it.
You didn't get a whole lot of time to really let things boil and add ingredients to the pot and stir and everything.
Yeah.
So it was definitely rushed, Hunter, now that you're in charge, don't do another SummerSlam in July. Leave it in August, please.
Please.
But I digress. By the shirt.
By the shirt.
I really felt like I was on an island unto myself. It's like I knew the potential these matches had.
Right.
And every one of them delivered.
Yep. Again, another guy that's looking forward.
Even the one that we said was the worst out of the bunch, and we only criticized the time and the finish of the match.
Yep.
And I sat here with my girlfriend because she loves her some Ronda.
Right.
She's waiting to see Ronda turn back into that baddest bitch on the planet.
Well,
and I'm like, she's beyond pissed that Liv retained. First, she was mad about how Liv got it.
Yep.
Not necessarily the cashing on the briefcase, but the taking out the bum knee.
Yeah.
Feeling that was pretty dirty and underhanded for a baby face.
Yes.
And then the way she retained it. And I'm like, look at it this way. And she's like, okay. You don't want to make Liv Morgan look weak in her first title defense.
Right.
And you don't want to make the baddest woman on the planet look weak in loss.
Ever. Yeah.
So for her to get pinned, but for Liv to be tapping at the same time, makes both of them still look strong. And there will be round 3 at Clash at the Castle in Cardiff, Wales. No? What?
Ronda's been heavily fined and suspended per WWE social media.
I saw the fined part. I hadn't seen the suspended part.
It's on the same post. It says suspended. So
Still. There's 5 weeks. She'll be back by Clash at the Castle.
I was going to say.
You'll get round 3 there in Wales in that huge ass arena. And it's going to be the biggest thing of their careers.
Figure 30-day suspension is August 31st is when she's eligible to go back again. And that's a Wednesday night. So she can be back on SmackDown. The SmackDown go home before the Clash.
Yeah.
So there you go. If it's 30 days, I don't know that. So. But
and even with the suspension, she still has an argument for a rematch.
Oh, she definitely does. Yeah,
they're not going to throw that match together last minute on the go home. They're still going to build it. Whether she has a legal representative come out for her over the course of the next couple weeks, or what?
Right.
Something is going to happen that's going to make that match go into place.
One would think so, right? So we'll see how it
With
all
the
lays
people
out.
behind the ship right now, I don't doubt it.
I don't either, but as we you and I both talked about, we definitely need to realize that we can't assume everything is going to be sunshine and rainbows now that the page is turned, if you will. So
I absolutely don't expect that. And I absolutely expect things to take a while. But I
right.
also know that they're trying to make a, pun intended, impact right away here.
Oh, definitely.
Hence
Definitely.
the returns last night. Hence the heavily rumored return of Sasha and Naomi tonight. And I'm telling you, mark my words, they're going to do something with this.
Yeah. I been very critical about the lady that, at least for now, according to the rumor, is going to remain Sasha Banks on WWE television because of the walkout. Not so much Naomi, although people, have come down on her too. But Sasha's done it before, which is why people are more critical of her.
Mm-hmm.
I will say here for the record, if Sasha Banks comes back and then doesn't walk out again and have the little pouty fit, and they allow the creative to play out how the boss lays it out, and don't take your ball and go home again, then I'll be okay with her coming back, and I will look forward to what she uses as for the presentation they're giving her. But it can't just be her way or she's gone, because that's not how the WWE will ever work.
No.
So do we do Big G or do we do the question?
Let's do the tweet just because it's the oldest question in the room.
Sounds good.
And then we can move to G, and looks like Ryan just threw one up also.
He did indeed. So our buddy Chris Yuck, who's been a long time Ask Meech Anything, Ask Us Anything contributor. This was back at the end of 2 weeks ago now, almost.
Yeah, date stamp there says July 22nd.
So figure not this last Friday, but the Friday before. Actually, it was on Shawn Michaels' birthday, so there you go. Which is why we didn't do the question on Dads last week, because it was Shawn Michaels' show. The current NXT 2.0 roster, who are your top 3 male and female superstars in the making, whom you believe will transfer well to the main roster, and who do you think will not even have a chance at this point in the show's run? That is loaded. I
think I can go first.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
I'm going to cheat on the women, and I'm going to give 4.
Oh,
Cora Jade and Toxic Attraction. All 3 members.
Well, yeah,
I think we'll transfer good up to the main roster.
Yeah.
And having another trio of women, if you will, would make a good faction to feud with Bayley's stable in the long run. Yeah, Bayley's stable is kind of being positioned as heels right now too.
Yep.
But, there's time.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that. They're not going to come up on the very first Raw or the very first SmackDown. It's going to take them a little bit. Mandy still has her title.
Yep.
So they're not going anywhere until that's gone, at least.
No, and her partners are challenging for the vacant tag titles tomorrow night. So
yeah. So Toxic Attraction as a complete trio and Cora Jade, I think, have immense potential on the main roster, as does Roxy. So there goes 5.
Yeah.
On the male side of things, Cameron Grimes, Carmelo Hayes, and as soon as he's ready, Braun Breaker.
Yeah. And I would co-sign with Mike here on Santos. I don't like the Santos act without his boys or without the big conglomerate with Tony's family too. Like I think the act on his own at this stage is unfortunately dependent on his 2 guys and dependent on the story with the family. It just doesn't. He will become Sean Ricker, Eli Drake, Max Dupree, LA Knight. I don't know who he is anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Lost in the sauce, as Sean would say. But Braun just needs a little bit more time in the chili pot, just a little bit.
Yeah,
I would say, and again, this seems like a little bit because it's so far off even now. Rumble for Braun, Rumble time. Debut him in the Rumble on the main roster. Carmelo's ready now,
or not even full on main roster, but just kind of give that tease. Like I want to say it was 2020 Rumble where Bianca first came up there, but then she went back to NXT. And it wasn't until like the next year, or I'm off a year, and it was 2019. But I remember seeing her come into a Rumble, and then she like disappeared again.
Yeah.
And then the next year was the year that she really came in full head of steam and stayed on the roster. Yeah. I could see them doing something like that with Braun.
They did Rusev, and it worked like gangbusters. He was in like the 14 Rumble, and by the 15 WrestleMania, which he should have freaking won. Sorry, John. Love you, bro. Rusev was a made man at that point. If he'd won that match, he'd have been a made man. But they put him in the 14 Rumble. They didn't debut him until later in the year.
Yeah.
But when he did, rocket ship, bye. And Braun would be good in that, like Braun would be great as a teaser to see how the crowd reacts to the main roster, Braun Breaker, and then freaking debut him in the Raw after Mania.
Mm-hmm.
Throw that freaking sizzle on the fire with Braun Breaker having a Raw after Mania debut.
I feel like the area where Braun really needs the seasoning the most is his promos.
Yeah.
Unless they're going to give him a manager, he sounds way too much like his uncle cutting a promo, and you don't need Steiner math going on while Braun's trying to get himself over.
No, and I think that's the problem. He's Rick's son, but I think he's trying too much to be Scotty. It's like, no, dude, just be you. You're good, man. Like yeah, your promos need work, but don't overwork it by turning into a Scott Steiner clone.
Yeah. He looks like his dad. He sounds like his uncle.
Yeah. Mike, Carmelo's ready. Carmelo's ready right now. Like drop the North American title, freaking no later than Rumble for him. Definitely. I don't know if it's Roderick never leaving. I don't think he wants to leave. He's seeing what's happened to his buddies. He's like, I'm kind of good.
Again, under the new regime, things could be better for him.
Well, my other thing with Roderick is he's a poppin' now.
Yeah.
Right. And his wife, off and on, not near as much as she could be working there, but she's at AEW now. And Adam's there. And Kyle and Bobby are there. I think Roddy, knowing Roddy as long as we've known him, or at least been acquainted with him, I think he would be happier working a less schedule and being close to Marina and the kiddo more often and working with his buddies again.
Probably.
And the Diamond Mine thing had potential. Now it's the only potential is how long is this going to play out already?
Agreed.
I haven't seen this guy on one of my streams in a long time. Good to see you, brother. It's good to see you back in the chat, my friend. He came on. I forget which pay-per-view watch long it was, but he was on for the whole show, and it was a good time. We don't know if was SummerSlam official TV 14 last night. Did we actually get that aside? Okay, so as of the pay-per-view, yes, we will see what happens here in about 20 minutes. If USA also is TV 14, with Hunter ruling the roost and Stephanie, who knows? It wouldn't surprise me. Because if there's one thing McMahon Helmsley era was TV 14.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the 2000s. It's, Stephanie and her McMahon's out there getting pedigreed, hello, peekaboo. 1998 team. There you go. Love it. Okay. So then there was the comment from Big G. And Chris, by the way, thank you for that. That was a great question. And as far as people that are not going to get out of those blocks, again, Santos at this stage of his stagnated development is top of my list there.
Top of my list is probably Joe Gacy.
Yeah, that gimmick's not going to fly.
No
way.
It's no way. Too Ministry of Darkness, too Mordecai.
Yeah,
it's just no.
Yeah, it's
and I don't buy it from him. There's something about his presentation I just don't buy him speaking it.
No.
Mello, going back to him, and it's like, man, if the Street Profits break up, but they want to keep it going, I could totally see him coming into that role
Yeah.
and
Because
either teaming with Tez or Dawkins.
well, what I would do if we're gonna run with that scenario is I would say keep Montez babyface because the people love that dude. So bring
Yes.
Mello up and put him with Dawkins after Dawkins gets frustrated with Montez getting more love than the big guy does. The big guy drops Tez and says, "You know what? This guy understands. This guy's one of the greatest, we've got, and he recognizes how good my potential is, and you don't even give it S no more." So there it is.
You could go that route, or you could go the route with Tez being the heel, but because he's so loved and people love his athleticism so much, like it's hard for him to stay heel.
Yeah.
A la The Rock.
Right.
I mean, like I touched on the other night, Bianca's promos have been coming off a lot more heelish as of late.
True.
If Tez turns heel and then she does too, then you've got a new power couple on TV.
Okay. So where does Mel fit into that then? If you're talking about keeping the Profits together,
him and Dawkins.
So Mello becomes a face when he comes up?
Possibly. I mean,
okay.
his ability is there.
Oh, yeah, well, definitely. It's just Carmelo comes off as a guy to be that loves to be hated. And we haven't seen him do a full-on main roster babyface type stuff yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
But I have a feeling that when he gets called up, the fans are going to be so happy to see him on the main roster.
True.
Finally.
Very true. Right.
He's going to get that warm reception.
Yes.
Grayson Waller, I feel, is too theory-ish right now.
Yeah.
He almost either needs a new gimmick or Theory needs to move on to a new gimmick before he comes up. Because you don't want to see them tag team.
No.
That's just way too much ego.
Yeah, that's like putting Sky and Ethan Page together. Oh, wait, they did that in AW.
Theory and Waller managed by The Miz.
Damn, is the ring big enough for them heads?
Right.
Well, I mean, it has to be because Mike's ball's clear aren't big enough to do it. So anyway.
Or Maurice and her Mizanins. But anyways.
Especially Saturday night. Great googly moogly. Anyway, we need to move on quickly before we get TV14 to our own selves.
To G's question.
Yes. So he was irritated by the again, we've all been irritated by the lack of Intercontinental Championship matches on PLEs. Good lordy. Triple H being in charge. I think he and his run with The Rock over that title before the main title, he has an appreciation for that Intercontinental Championship. We've talked about this a couple times last couple weeks. So I think if the Intercontinental Championship has any chance of getting that prestige back, it is right now.
Yeah. I could see them taking the next 5 weeks to really establish a program for Gunther, Walter, whatever you want to call him.
Right.
So that when they go into Cardiff Wells, there can be an Intercontinental title match on that card.
Because there has to be.
If you don't utilize your quote-unquote overseas talents as much as possible on your card for Cardiff, you're doing bad things, Hunter.
Yeah. There has to be
so much potential here between Sheamus, Butch, you've got Walter, you've got all these guys that have roots over there.
Yep.
That if you don't book them somewhere on this card, huge mistake.
Yes. Ryan says, do we think Tony Khan is worried given Triple H's credit? No, not at all. Matter of fact, we talked about this Saturday night after SummerSlam. Tony is optimistic about a collaboration with the company now that Triple H and Stephanie are in charge.
Yeah, we are closer to a legitimate forbidden door than we ever have been before in our lives.
Yep.
But between what's between what's going on now in WWE and what went on earlier this year with Mickey James and everything,
Yep.
you've got enough ex WWE guys within AEW that either still communicate with Hunter or just aren't 100% jaded at the company,
Right.
that you've got that level that can cross over. Can
Exactly.
you imagine? We're saying like number 13, number 16 in the Royal Rumble, and Judas drops.
Right.
And out comes Chris Jericho in the middle of the Rumble to Judas.
Yes. I'm here for it.
Can you imagine? Thank you. Someone just brought up Shield Triple Threat Survivor Series. Can you imagine Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns in the ring alone at the Rumble and
Right.
Wild Thing drops?
Right.
And holy crap, here comes John Moxley.
Right.
This is something that legitimately can happen now. Do we think it'll happen that soon?
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe not, but I,
Rumble is the absolute soonest I could see anything happening. Realistically, probably a year from now, but that's the soonest because there's the surprise element factor.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
the absolute soonest I could see anything happen. But as far as like full on match card wise, we're looking at least a year from now.
Right.
But a moment,
Yes. Yeah. Right. Exactly. I could have sworn, I looked it up, so it is true that this is not a thing. If Sheamus gets the nod at Cardiff against Gunther, then Sheamus becomes Grand Slam champion. I could have sworn he was the IC champion, but he wasn't. And as much as you've been a non-fan of Sheamus up until very, very recently, I would say
still not a fan.
Okay, fair enough.
Unless I am watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, I'm not a Sheamus fan.
Not even the bar?
Okay, I did enjoy the bar, but most of the
Okay.
bar's work was while I was gone. And
Fair
I
enough.
enjoyed the bar because of Claudio,
Fair enough.
not because of Sheamus.
Fair enough. All right. My balls are being busted in the chat room, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it up here.
Okay.
Lord, I apologize, James. I'm sorry. Okay. So, full disclosure.
I'm going to say the AEW WWE collaboration happens first.
Well, and the only reason I co-sign, I have not had a chance to message him about this, and I feel like an asshole for doing it on the air, but it is what it is. The box I had, his 2 T-shirts, and the SummerSlam extra shirt I had were in a box, ready for the move, and we had a major flood. And the box cardboard fused and became one with the fabric. So those were completely ruined. And on top of that, the ones I have left that I was wearing, the red shirt, the logo's fading like bad. And the yellow, the mustard gold shirt that that Greg designed for me has a big giant dusty size splotch in the middle of the bottom of the shirt. So when
You're just the common man,
right? When I get the opportunity to replenish both of those shirts in my closet, there will be a separate set of each of those shirts.
Yes.
Full price, paid for, and sent your way, brother. I am so sorry that happened. I have promised the people in my circle when I take over the world, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I control weather patterns. Yeah. I just haven't done the take over the world yet. I'm working on it. Lord knows.
Can the second thing you do be to control the flow of traffic?
Okay, so weather patterns and traffic are the same day.
Okay.
The second day is be able to beam a signal in my brain to watch Gotham in a second, so I can get you off my ass about that. Season 2 will be a thing this week. You're hearing me say it in front of the world.
Okay.
So there you go. At least the start of season 2.
So when we convene in a week for our next Dad's Top 10, I can ask you about it. Okay.
Yes.
And I will do it in front of the world.
Oh, I know you will.
If you say, I haven't watched it yet, man. Then everybody here needs to hold him accountable. It can't just be me.
You may feel free to bust my ball so much they say the size to the size of what Mike was saying and which is his work. Anyway, and again, we love Mike, so that's just a load of crap. Anyway,
Yeah.
If we had to choose one Disney movie, what would it be? Damn.
Animated or live action, AJ?
Good.
Or can we choose one of each?
Yeah. Ryan, we did answer your question, I think, just now about the
Just before Jeff went into the thing about the T-shirts, we just answered your question, bro.
Yeah, no, not at all. Tony's optimistic now that they're in charge, so definitely not. Disney movie streams would be this gentleman. However, at the end of the year in December,
yes,
we will be doing a 3-part DADS special, if you will, where we're going to talk about the soundtracks of Disney everything.
Except the theme parks.
I was going to build the suspense and say not the theme parks, and you've done shit on my presentation. I'm sad now. Anything that they don't play over the PAs in Disneyland, Disney California Adventure, Walt Disney World, the other parks around the world. Everything else is fair game. And not only will it be us for each set, because we're going to do one era of pre-1970-ish.
Yeah.
Like the true classic era of Disney, right?
We basically have it broken down into the Walt era, 1928 through 1970.
Yeah.
The post-Walt / Renaissance era, 1971 to the year 2000. And the new millennium through today, 2001 to 2022.
Yeah. We would use names for all three, but I was going to take over to the 80s. And there was some good stuff in the 70s. So despite popular narrative, the 70s were actually pretty good to the company as far as content and creativity. It just
depending on what you're into.
It's just the park suffered. That's all. The park suffered bad in the 70s, other than Disney World itself.
So yeah. And we're gonna have special guests.
Each
one of those streams.
Each of those 3 streams will have a special guest relevant to the era we're discussing in one form or another. And that's all you get. You just wait till December, folks. Just like we had to wait till the Horsemen. And I don't think anybody was disappointed in that, because that was a great reveal. And we got exactly what we wanted. I totally forgot about that. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Go back and watch that stuff from last week. We'll eventually talk about it on the air openly, but we want y'all to watch it. I appreciate that, James. I appreciate that let out of that freaking fire trap. Lord knows. Yeah. One of each. Okay. All right. So for me,
here comes Mansfield stealing my line again into the chat room.
Actually, you said it when you started the show, so he didn't have to steal it. If Josh had been here on time, he'd have known that. That's okay. Anyway. By the way, whoever's posting NFL stuff today, go piss on yourself. It's next week. Shut up. Hall of Fame games until next week. Don't flood my NFL stuff right now. That includes you, Browns fan, Josh Mansfield, you and your damn tardy ass. Anyway,
love you, Josh.
I do too, Josh, but seriously, football mode, Cowboys are a thing. Hey, how do you awesome dudes? yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, that's better, you jerk. Animated. Oh, God, again, that's like trying to pick my favorite.
I know.
Your favorite person. Jeez. But live action, Pete's Dragon, because it's a hybrid. I'll go ahead and cheat. But animated, it's definitely a toss-up between Pinocchio and Cinderella for me. It always has been. It always will be.
See, and I have, like you, picking animated is like picking your favorite kid if you have more than one. It's like it's hard to do. I have movies from each animated era that I love. If I'm just randomly gonna pull one out of my butt to put on right now and watch, might seem an odd choice, but I think I'm gonna go with Meet the Robinsons because I haven't seen that one in a minute. And I just had my goob over at the house last night.
Yes,
yeah, I have called Jeff's son Goob for years and years and years.
Pretty much his whole life.
Yeah,
yeah.
At least ever since you guys moved in with us.
Right. which is
But
most of his life. So yeah,
yeah, so
yeah,
so Dylan has been my goob since he was 3 years old.
yes. So first of
So
all,
that's where I would go for animated. For
right,
live action, can't go wrong with Captain Jack Sparrow, baby. Curse of the
the,
Black Pearl.
the first one, yeah, for the first one's the best, and it stays self-contained, which I like.
Yes.
Yeah, the other one's very much open, and you have to watch them all after that. So see, this is why James gets my shirts, because shit like this, right? And Jiminy Cricket himself, I think, is an overlooked character in the grand scheme of things. Yes, you hear him all the time because he was the original When You Wish Upon a Star artist in the Disney circle, but post the era where he was on TV every week, on the Mickey Mouse Club doing songs or whatever,
Okay, I was gonna say
not a whole lot of love for Jiminy.
I don't know if he's so overlooked because he did have that stuff all the time on the Mickey Mouse Club, but
Yeah,
because you went and you pointed that out, ever
yeah,
since that generation,
yeah.
I absolutely co-sign with you. Like he's a fallen off character.
He was so
It's
fallen
it's
off.
like the three caballeros.
Yeah,
Everyone knows about Donald, but everyone forgets about the other caballeros.
Jiminy and the other two Caballeros were so long lost friends. They were part of that stuff at the parks when we went.
Yep, I
How
miss those weekends, dude. Like
how
that was so
jazz,
cool.
dude? How jazzed was I when the whole Pinocchio group was up there and Jiminy? Like I had taken pictures with Falfel and Gideon and with Pinocchio and Geppetto. This boy, you would have thought Hulk Hogan was up there in bright red and yellow.
Legit, this guy needed his own box of Kleenex, and afterwards he had to change his pants.
Because I had never in my 30 whatever it was here at that point had never taken a picture of Jiminy Cricket, had never taken a picture with anybody from Robin Hood, period, as much as I love that darn movie. Not the entirety of the Seven Dwarfs at the time. I think I only had Dopey at that point. Entire
Dopey was the one that occasionally would come out.
Over at the little Snow White house facade there, along with Snow White would pop out over there once in a while too, but not the entirety of all seven. And that picture turned out so well because each of us, myself, Dylan, and Dylan's mom, in the group shot of the seven, it wasn't even arranged like this. It just happened, posed in front of our own individual favorite dwarf. So when we could crop it, the three were behind us. It just was magic. Disney magic at its finest, kids. And yes, King Mike, I will co-sign that Meet the Robinsons is highly underrated because I hadn't seen it until I moved in with this guy, and it's one of my favorites now. It really is.
It's a hell of a story. And spoiler alert for December, Little Wonders is in heavy contention for that 01 to 2022 list of mine.
Right.
Will it make the top 10? We'll have to see. I've got like 20 songs that I'm trying to whittle down.
Right. Dude, you are not.
I did not.
I did. And the fact of how Pinocchio looks and the fact that they have Tom Hanks as Geppetto, take all my money for every movie they are going to release the rest of this year and just I'll go see this movie 20 times. Golly. Like, if ever there was a movie that they're going to make or break my Disney live action conversion fandom, this be the one. Yeah. And y'all know this. So, and James, I look forward to those PMs because I have stories of my own. JJ knows ad nauseum. He's probably going to shoot me at this point. And Josh, we are in agreement with you. We are so pumped for Raw tonight. And I didn't know that the promo code for WWE Shop was walkout, which is tremendous. And then Twitter re-review and statement in the same tweet. See? So we're looking forward to Raw so much that for you East Coast folks, we're going to blow through these promos and get you off to Raw.
I just noticed in my private chats that my buddy has seen the message. By any chance, has he popped in?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Continue then.
So, worst case scenario, we can pop you in tomorrow as a special Talk Wrestling guest and bring him in because I do want to hear the live the live feedback from last night because that was way too cool. All right, let's see. So again, JJ, of course, is on the path, if you will. He just a Little Monsters today, which again is, if you're an 80s baby and you haven't seen Little Monsters, what's the matter for you?
For
Like,
real,
for
there's
real.
so much synergy in this movie. That was my review that went up at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 Eastern today. Little Monsters, starring Fred Savage, his real life little brother Ben as his little brother in the movie.
Before he met the world.
Yeah. Daniel Stern as his father, and
Yes.
Daniel Stern was the narrator on The Wonder Years, playing the grown-up version of Kevin Arnold, for which Fred Savage was the young on TV version of Kevin Arnold. And then, of course, Howie Mandel, Mr. Deal or No Deal himself, the voice of Bobby from Bobby's World, the voice of Baby Skeeter from Muppet Babies, the voice of Gizmo from Gremlins. Yeah. Like, and at the end of the day, for all of us Disney dorks in the chat, it legitimately is a live action version of Monsters, Inc.
It really is.
I mean, at the very least, if you don't want to call it a direct live action version, it is heavily the inspiration.
Yeah.
A little kid gets sucked into the monster world, befriends a big blue monster, and they become best friends.
Yeah.
They end up sharing a heartfelt goodbye.
Yes.
The bad guys are very much Randall and Waternoose.
Right.
Like, all of the key elements are there.
Yeah.
Just Fred Savage doesn't call Howie Mandel's character Kitty at any point. That's about it.
No. And at the end of the day, Kitty in this case is not Eat Baloo. All right. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and move on now. This is the rest of your week, dude. Look at this stuff. Good stuff.
The rest of the week, you've basically got back-to-back movies that are very much the same premise. If you have seen Freaky Friday, you have seen these movies. Like Father, Like Son, and vice versa are just the father-son version of Freaky Friday. At the end of the day, do you prefer the British comedian Dudley Moore and Growing Pains heartthrob Kirk Cameron more than you enjoy Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage? And I'm going to say, having rewatched vice versa again recently to take my notes so I can film everything, there is so much Santa Claus synergy in that movie that it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Judge Reinhold is a vice president of a department store. He doesn't have time for his son, named Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
The movie takes place around Christmas time.
Yep.
So much synergy here again. And you figure Judge Reinhold is essentially the Scott Calvin character in this, and then come the Santa Claus, he's Neil. Where the Crawdads scene.
And a sweater vest. Anyway.
Yeah. Where the Crawdads scene. All I know about this movie is the little bit I've seen of the trailers.
Yes.
Reese Witherspoon is involved in the direction, production, something of this movie. And it just hooked me when I saw the trailers. And then, of course, Sunday, another episode of The War Zone, the weekly acquisition report, the newest additions to my ever-growing media library.
Yes. Of course, you are a busy boy next week as well, because you and I'll be back here Monday night for not only my my call to the stand about my Gotham viewing, but we are at JJ's suggestion, and I love you for this, the top 10 songs of my favorite band of all time, my family's favorite band of all time, Eagles.
But Renegade, if it's your birthday month, why aren't we focusing on your favorite band of all time? Because my favorite band of all time has a historic moment coming up in just under 2 years. And we are going to cover them at that point in time. When 60 years to the date, roughly, they invaded America. John, Paul, George, and Ringo.
We may even move to that date for that day, just so the schedule works itself out that way.
Or we can make it a special episode like we did the Shawn Michaels and then the Horsemen in the same week.
If
we can have a regular episode and that special episode, baby.
If any other group of four deserves a special on this channel besides the Horsemen, I think it would be the Fab Four.
There you
So
go.
just throwing that out there. And then the next
Something
day,
again about the synergy of four.
that's it. Love
The
it.
Fab Four and the Horsemen.
Yep. The next day, speaking of Fab and family,
Yes. Stat Boy Sports Bar. Featuring Dory Lowe.
that's right. Gotta make sure we get
Making
that in
its
there.
return and debut to the Casa D18 Studios channel. It will then be replayed on Thursdays on the Jeff Meacham Network,
Yes, sir.
but it'll be going live to the people 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern, beginning Tuesday, August 9th.
That's 1 week from
So
tomorrow.
cool to have the Stat Boy back on the Casa D18 Studios channel, where Stat Boy Rants premiered in the first place.
That's right. Back home, brother.
Yeah, coming home, much like how me coming back to do Dads with you on your channel and then broadcasting onto the Casa 2 was me coming back into the fold, coming home.
Yep.
Him bringing Stat Boy Rants to my channel for the initial live streams.
Yes.
You retaining the rights for the replays.
Yes.
Stat Boy is back home on the Casa channel. I love it.
I'm looking forward to strictly being director producer guy for that, because I've not done that with anybody. I've tried. I just can't help my damn self. So I'm gonna not even have a camera involved in that shit. I'm gonna unplug them. No, Jeff, no Meech. It's a bad Meech.
Cool Brothers. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
I
man.
was raised on that.
Me
shit.
too. K Earth 10F1, brother.
Yeah. The biggest heartbreak was when I turned into K Earth 101 and heard a Janet Jackson song from the early 90s, and I realized that my music is now oldies, because you figure the stuff I grew up listening to in the 80s and 90s is now 30 to 40 years old. Whereas when I was listening to those channels in the 80s and 90s, it was the 50s, the 60s, the 70s music that was getting played. It was my parents' music. Now it's our music getting played on those channels. But dude, I was raised on the Beatles, the Stones, the Doors, the Who, Jan and Dean, the Beach Boys, Sonny and Cher, Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash. I was raised on classic rock.
Chuck Berry, that sound stealing muckerfuther.
John Lennon said it best. If you had to give rock and roll another name, you'd call it Chuck Berry.
Right. Oh, yeah. But he wouldn't have it if it wasn't for Calvin Klein and the Starlighters. Darn him.
You know what, Meacham?
Hey, I messed up that
you're almost as bad with that right now as you were this weekend about the Jared Flair situation, okay? You were so wrapped up in that. I had to go full on heel just to make you look ridiculous.
To be fair, that moment got my balls busted by my own doing about Back to the Future. So, I gotta kind of regain some of my own dignity. What little of it is left at this point in this world. Shut up. However, before we get to next week and the Eagles and Stat Boy,
and you know what? While I have you on the air, I'm gonna throw something at you here. I haven't talked to you about this, but I'm gonna put you on the spot, if you will.
A doc spot.
Traditionally,
mm-hmm.
non-wrestling shows, you take the lead, or I take the lead, you follow. Wrestling shows, you take the lead, I follow.
True.
We're flipping that this month. You have to take the lead on the Eagles show. That is your bread and butter, baby. That is your favorite band of all time. I want to have the lead on the SummerSlam title show because that's my birthday.
Okay. But I mean, the problem with that is well, okay. Okay, so you want me to take the lead?
I'll go first on the Eagles. You'll bring it home.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Well, then, all right. That works. We can do that.
And then you'll go first on the SummerSlam show, and I'll bring it home on my birthday.
It's going to be an interesting challenge because,
Flip
you
it.
know, we try very hard to not know each other's lists in most cases. So having not knowing what you're going to throw, what I have a feeling you will throw on Eagles, I'll definitely have to be very objective in my choices of songs. So challenge accepted, sir, for next week. And by the way, Shotgun Tom Kelly is on Sirius 60s Gold.
Nice.
So if you get serious,
I've met Shotgun. He is a cool.
We've all met Shotgun, dude. He was a Long Beach Grand Prix regular. We love us some Shotgun Tom Kelly up in this region. Yeah, Dylan hears him every Friday night to this day because we listen to the 60s channel going up to drop him off at Jade's. I think that's awesome. You know,
Shotgun Tom Kelly has got that longevity that Wolfman Jack had.
Yeah.
He is so associated with the oldies. He's still got that longevity. Wolfman had that until he died.
Yep.
And it looks like Shotgun's riding those same rails, man.
Yeah. I spoke with Shotgun not the last time I saw him, and I was telling him about the Rhythm Nation song being on Kareth. He's like, yeah, I'm sure that made your spine curve about as much as mine did. I'm like, yeah. Like I was walking like a hunchback the rest of that week. Unacceptable behavior on the part of K-Earth 101. He's like, that's why I'm on Sirius, baby. I'm like, all right, there you go. Very good. If you know, you know about the blah, blah, blah. All right. So for me, of course, you know, this coming Saturday, by the way, we will have no premium live event pay-per-view streams this month, as far as I know. Impact has their emergence event on Friday. Friday nights are a mucker fucker because I'm always gone. So in place of that, for the entire month of August, every Saturday night, we will have open mic night exclusively on the Jeff Meacham Network for now. Probably on the Casa. Depends who pops in. I may throw in, you know, whoever's contributing, whatever. There is that because everybody's got something on Saturday. As you and I have something on Saturday each now because you've got your new release Saturday. And again, this is the first time that I can recall that I've not heard a whole lot about the buzz about your new release. I'm curious. I don't even think you've seen the trailer. So I'm curious to see what you think of it and how it actually plays out. So
as am I. I'm so far behind as far as new release Saturday go. I still need to get to the theater to see the movie that's going to air this Saturday. I usually try to see the new release Saturday movie the week that it opens. Yeah. But with the move and everything and trying to get the refrigerator set up and all that shenanigans, you know, you were here for 2 days, you know, you get it.
Yeah.
I still haven't been able to get to the theater to see that or Nope, which is next weekend.
Yeah.
So
I've heard nothing but good about Nope. Like people like on horror, like Braden Timmons, how he loved it. He said it was the weakest of, I forget the main guy behind it, like the actual the producer director. Yeah. He said it's the weakest of Jordan's efforts, but it's still good. So take that for what it's worth. Anyway, that's Saturday, of course. Wednesday, the Greg Cherry show. Wednesday night. I was not on last week because of school shenanigans beyond my control. And then, tomorrow night, the flagship of the mothership, baby, of course. Talk Wrestling, 15 years strong. It's going to be a good week, as we do. And we'll see you back right here, Renix. Well, God darn it, I need to nap again. We will see you after this week goes by. We'll be right back. Cha. Anyway, if you know, you know from last night. No, nobody knows but you and me. That's okay. Next week, Ask the Dads. Top 10 dads. God, okay. Say goodnight, Jeff. Right. Dad's on wrestling. No, always on wrestling. Son of a bitch.
Next Monday, Dad's not always on wrestling. Top 10 Eagle songs. I'm going to go first. Jeff's going to bring it home for a change on the non-wrestling topics because, like I said, this is Jeff's favorite band. I can't not let him bring it home.
Right. I appreciate that, brother. No, I appreciate that.
And then SummerSlam has always been associated with me with my birthday because my birthday is the 22nd. The show is going live on the 22nd. We will be live on my birthday.
Which is awesome.
I've got to be the one to bring it home on that.
Yep.
And then Ask the Dads in between each of the weeks.
When you think about August 22nd, your birthday in SummerSlam history, that was the day of the Jesse Ventura SummerSlam in '99 in Minnesota. And we're going live with the top 10 SummerSlam title changes that day.
And I
And
still have to whittle my list down, bro.
right, me too. Jeez.
I have pictures saved. Let me see here. While installing and uninstalling, I have
Robotic voice again. Damn it. Not the hell.
16
Jesus.
16 title changes that I have to whittle down into 10. And this is me for a wrestling show.
He has one
And
suplex for every
the newest match that I have on here, I actually have a title change from 2021 and 2018.
Wow.
Within my
And
16 to whittle down. Will they stay in the list?
don't know.
To tune in on the 22nd to find out. But considering I'm the guy that usually has stuff from before I stopped watching only and very
Yeah.
little from the current product,
Very little.
that's why I had to throw that little nugget out there.
That's
I
crazy.
have stuff from when I wasn't watching. Again, will it stay there? Will it make the list? You'll have to tune in on the 22nd and find out.
And I forget who asked. So luckily for them, I forgot who it was because I would really bury him right now. There won't be any matches from this last Saturday. There were no title
because
changes.
No titles changed yet.
If you didn't know that, you need to watch our show and you need to turn on the cock and watch their show too.
And the oldest SummerSlam that I have is 1990.
Yeah, because the title change in '88 is the Warrior. So, and it wasn't even a good match. It was a squash of the honky tonk, man.
You didn't have to throw that out there. You could have just left it be. But yeah, 1990 is the oldest.
Yeah.
Last year's and then 2018 are the newest.
God.
Everything else falls in between that.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm looking forward to next week's show as well. Looking forward to the return of Stat Boy next week. I'm looking at I'm looking forward to all of it, brother. I can't wait. But until then, he is the Renegade, JJ Williams. We went way too far into Rock. I didn't want to.
He is the West Coast Professor Jeff Meacham.
We are the dads, always on wrestling. And yeah, like you said, we'll see you next time. Darn it.